Welcome to the Dietitian Side Hustle podcast. My name is Katie Dodd, and I'm a nutrition entrepreneur. I spent 7 years as a side hustler before diving into entrepreneurship full time. Before making the leap, I was bringing in 6 figures through my side hustle. If I can do it, you can too. This podcast is for dietitians, interns, and students who want to be inspired to start or perfect the side hustle of their dreams. Let's do this. Hello and welcome to the 92nd episode of the Dietitian Side Hustle podcast, self-publishing on Amazon. Today, I will be interviewing Liz Jalkowitz. You may remember Liz from the 74th episode of the podcast where she spoke all about content planning for 2022. Liz is a registered dietitian, writer, and editor. She is the owner of the Dietitian Editor brand, which seeks to continually empower and educate registered dietitian nutritionists on how they can improve their writing and editing skills, while also sharing inspiration for content planning and content creation. Liz is also a student in the Blogging Accelerator program and a member of the Blog Boss Mastermind. Welcome, Liz. Would you like to share a few words before we get started?
Thank you, Katie. Yes, I'm excited to be back on for a second time to talk to your listeners and your community all about self-publishing on Amazon this time. This is a really, really exciting topic for me to talk about. I learned a lot about it over the last 9 months or so, and I just want to share my knowledge with fellow dietitians and RDs to be so we can get our message out to the masses.
Awesome. Well, let's dive in. My first question for you is, how did you get into the space of self-publishing on Amazon?
It's a funny question, or it's a funny story, I guess I would say, because when I started the Dietitian Editor last summer through the Blogging Accelerator program, this was not the direction I was initially planning that I would go. But I think such is life and such is business, right? You have to listen to your community, listen to what their needs are, and kind of adapt. So initially it was really more of just an editing and proofreading and writing type of business, which it still is. But after talking to a lot of dietitians and nutrition professionals in the field, I realized really fast that there was a need for this information, and there was a lack of resources available specifically for dietitians and health professionals in this space. And so I think too, as dietitians, we have so many great messages that we need to share with our consumers and even fellow health professionals, right? About nutrition and health and wellness. And it's important that folks understand that nowadays, you don't have to go through the traditional publishing route. You can publish your own book quickly. And so I think it's important for people and listeners to understand that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, there are so many options and things that we can do. And sometimes we'll hear one option like traditional publishing, oh my gosh, that sounds so overwhelming. But no, I know there's other options, other things you could do. Now, you said something that actually stood out to me, so I don't want to leave this question without circling back to it. But when you said this was not the direction I was planning to go in your business. And I think that's true for so many people who start a side hustle, who start a business, myself included. We have a vision, we have goals, we have plans, but sometimes things don't end up the way we, plan to. I know for me, through Dietitian Side Hustle, I did not think that I would be teaching and coaching other dietitians, NDTRs and RDs to be on how to build businesses based in blogging. That wasn't the direction I thought I was going to go, but here we are, and I love every second. And so, it really comes down to, as you do anything in your business, side hustle through entrepreneurship, to make sure that you're talking to people, listening to your audience, listening for problems they have, for the needs that they have, and focus on creating solutions and filling the gap. That is what we're really focused on, is solving problems. And so you did exactly what you're supposed to do. You listened to your people and you kind of gravitated towards, okay, here's a problem that needs to be solved, and I am equipped and skilled to do this, and I'm going to help other people on this journey. So that is amazing.
Yeah. And I agree. It is really important to listen. That is, I think a lot of times, we say we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, right? We need to listen more than we talk sometimes. And that's especially true in business. And so I think too, when it comes to self-publishing, the one thing about it that I wanted to mention is anyone can do it. So that's a plus and a minus, I think, because it could be a really saturated market and anyone can publish a book. So we have to rise above the rest and do it the right way. Because I think it's more than just creating the account, uploading the book and hitting publish. Like there's so much more that goes into it in order for you to stand out, to make more sales, to promote your book in a better way. So this kind of started last fall when a client had asked me to just edit and proofread her manuscript. And I was like, okay, I could do that. Like that's in my lane. That's my jam. Like I could definitely do that. And then she took it a step further and was like, but can you also help me format my book and help me self-publish it on Amazon? And I was like, well, shoot, like that sounds really interesting. And I could definitely do that. I just have to learn the process. Like I had a basic knowledge, I think, of what maybe most people know about self-publishing on Amazon. But I'm just so grateful that she gave me the opportunity to work with her. And it was a learning process for both of us. And we were both open and transparent that, this was the first book she had written. This was the first time I was doing this for a client. And so we both learned along the way. And I was just excited to get in there, learn everything I possibly could about self-publishing and share that with her. And so she just recently published her book in March of this year, of March 2022 on Amazon. And it was a great learning experience. We both had so much fun doing this together. And I feel like now it's my obligation to take the information that I have in my head and share it with other dietitians, because I feel like a lot of times we have the information, but the way that we share it with people, sometimes it doesn't get seen, doesn't get read. And so, if no one's reading it or seeing it, it's like when we say it's not nutrition unless you eat it, like they're not going to get that information that we have unless they read it and see it and buy it. So I'm excited to share this information today.
Yeah. And I love that, because we can learn so much by finding other people who are doing what we want to do successfully and really learning from them, because we're going to learn from your successes, from your failures, right? You have so much that you gathered. And by doing so, we are going to reach our goals faster, because we're not working from scratch. We're learning from someone who's been there, done that. Yeah, so I'm so happy that you're
time.
Yeah, right. So my next question for you is, why would RDNs, NDTRs, RDs to be, and other nutrition healthcare professionals want to self-publish?
Yeah, great question. There are so many pros to self-publishing. There's a couple cons, which we'll talk about, because I feel like I would be, too biased if I didn't mention some of the cons, but there's a lot more pros than cons. So self-published books account for like 30 to 40% of all ebook unit sales. And so that's a good number. Ebooks are definitely the preferred format when it comes to independent authors or indie authors, because of this growing number in online, sales. So I think just knowing like that statistic and knowing that there's a need, there's a niche for this market for your book is important too. And those are ebook sales, but I would say that print book is right up there too. I mean, I order personally just a ton of books on Amazon. I could probably say the same for you. Yeah. Anyone who's in, as dietitians, we're all about professional development and we'll absorb all of the information. But in terms of self-publishing, for dietitians and nutrition professionals, some of the pros are that you really have creative control over your manuscript. And that is one that's huge, I think, for people, because a lot of times when you go the traditional publishing route, you lose a lot of that. Like, well, I want it to look like this, or I lost my voice, in how the recipes are written or whatnot. So that's probably the biggest pro, is that you have all the say of what your final manuscript is going to look like. It's relatively easy to make changes too. So let's say, there's not like this huge inventory in a warehouse of your books and you like found a typo afterwards, or like there's a new research study that says something. When you're self-publishing, you can, on Amazon specifically, you can make edits to your manuscript and just re-upload a new version. Being that it's print on and for free. So with Amazon, you could upload, you don't want to do it too often, because then you start like questioning, why am I updating my book so much? But it's good to know that is available to you. Mm-hmm. The whole print on demand concept with Amazon is amazing too, because like I said, you don't have to order a whole bunch of your books to bring to events and things like that. People can just order them from Amazon without you having this inventory, let's say, in your house. Also, flexibility with pricing is big. So, when you're self-publishing, you decide what's the price of my book going to be. And this is where a lot of research comes into play. And having like a strategy behind how should you price your book. There's definitely a strategy. You can't just pick a number, well, I want my book to be $29.99. You have to see what are the comps. It's almost like, real estate. What are the comps in my category, and how should I price it in a way that maybe it's like just under what some of my competitors have that will drive more sales. So that's important too, because having control of your price ultimately will determine your royalties through Amazon as well. Also, it's a quick process. So writing the manuscript itself can take a long time for some, but we'll talk about low content books in a minute. But other than that, like once your manuscript is actually done, the process of actually publishing it is relatively quick compared to traditional publishing. It can also help you start to build and gain traffic for your blog or your brand by promoting your book through, promoting your blog through your book. And it's another stream of passive income, which I am all about these days. Yeah. And so I guess on the flip side, some of the things that are maybe, a con are that you have to take in self-publishing, you take care of everything A to Z, editing, proofreading, creating the cover, promoting the book once it's actually done and published. So that could be a lot for some people. But I would say, there's no shame in hiring out. So know your strengths, know your weaknesses, and then kind of like divide and conquer from there. There may be some things you could do and some things you can't, and that's okay. I think, it's okay to hire out when needed. So that would just be a con, is that like a lot of that is on you to find the people that you want to hire and do the work that, you're able to do. So yeah, let's see, one more con that I just thought of is, and I kind of mentioned it earlier, is that it can be a saturated market. The fact that it is relatively easy for anyone to self-publish a book means that they're not all great books, like content-wise, quality-wise. And so we want to make sure that you're standing out above the rest. We want to make sure that you're doing the research. You're looking up, what categories and keywords should my book be listed under to generate the most interest in sales. Making sure you get those reviews is really important too. And that's like a whole marketing strategy is, you don't just want to publish your book and have no reviews, right? You want to make sure that people have read it. You get your beta readers to give some reviews ahead of time and all those things. I mean, I'll just say this one more time. Anyone can publish a book, but if you do it if you just upload your book, and hit publish, yes, it will be a live book. But if you do it in a way that is strategic and you promote it the right way, your sales will be totally different in that respect.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I think this is so helpful for people who are wanting to self-publish on Amazon, because you just gave a lot of information, a lot of, I think with everything, there's pros and cons, right? But definitely a lot of information on how to move forward. And then the 5-star review just made me think. I had just purchased a low content product that you created, and I just made a little note here. I'm like, I need to go review Liz's journal that I just bought. So,
thank you.
Okay. So, I know that you have created a really amazing program to help dietitians, nutrition professionals who are serious about self-publishing on Amazon. And I'm so excited for it, because I think what you've created is going to help solve a lot of problems that people have and fast track people to success. So this moves from being like, oh man, I've always dreamed of creating a book, to now I'm doing it. I'm doing it, and my book will be live soon, on this date. So can you share with us a little bit more about your Click to Publish course and what it entails?
Definitely. Yeah. And I will say, I agree with you too, in that for a lot of people, it's a dream and it's something that they've always wanted to do, but things always happen, life always happens, and it gets pushed back, or pushed on the back burner. So this is definitely a way to fast track that process. So the Click to Publish course is a 6-week online course, and it's really designed with dietitians in mind. So from a dietitian to a dietitian, to really help to you reach your dream of becoming a self-published author. And so you'll learn all the steps you need to know from self-publishing on Amazon through KDP, or Kindle Direct Publishing. And I think a lot of people will say, well, gosh, I was I want to do that, but I don't have a manuscript, or it's not ready. It's by no means edited or proofread. Will this course still be of value to me? And I wanted to talk just briefly about something called low content books. And I just recently wrote a blog about this. So if anyone's interested, they should check that out at thedietitianeditor.com. But there is a whole niche out there on publishing low content books. And some people know what that means, but for those who don't, that means basically journals, notebooks, agendas, calendars, coloring books, activity books, log books, like all of these things where the user or the person who's buying it has to fill it in. So you're creating this low content book and it serves as a stream of passive income for you without you creating this 60,000 word manuscript. So I just want to put that out there too, that you don't need a finished manuscript to self-publish on Amazon. So just wanted to let people know about that. And with this course too, you have lifetime access. So like I said before, just being fully transparent, with listeners, that I learned this process back in the fall and I continue to learn it up through now. Like I'm continuing to learn about all things that come along with self-publishing on Amazon, but I feel like I have this great knowledge base at this point, having helped someone go from manuscript to holding the book in her hand, which just makes me so happy. Like I have this vision of, people going through the course and then just sending me these photos of them holding their book in their hands. You have lifetime access. So as I learn, you learn. And as I update the course, you get access to all that new information. So you can be a self-published author. I just want to, reassure you that a lot of times dietitians have imposter syndrome, and you talk about that a lot, Katie. I mean, I struggle with that myself at times, and having the knowledge and the confidence to go from manuscript to book in hand through this course will help you to do it time and time again. So it's not just like one book and you're done with the course. You can create multiple passive streams of income by learning the basics of how to self-publish on Amazon. It's so exciting. Like, it's so exciting to be able to share this information and get our message out to the world.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. So let's talk about, let's talk a little bit about blogging and self-publishing a book and how they go hand in hand. So can we talk a little bit more about the concept of self-publishing and then blogging?
Yeah. So they go hand in hand in the way that, when you self-publish a book, you can use that book to help establish yourself as a credible expert in that niche. So you can promote your book through your blog, through your website, obviously on social media too. You can reference your book at different speaking events that you might have, webinars, conferences, things like that, and that all drive that traffic back to your site. So books really can help you to not only establish yourself as that expert, having the RDN is one big way to establish yourself as an expert, but then to take it a step further and write a book on a specific topic or niche just helps your credibility that much more. So by using it at speaking events and webinars and conferences, your local, dietetic association, annual meeting, those are all great ways to not only tell people about it, but then to drive that traffic to your site, pull excerpts from your book for social or for blog posts, because there can always be more, right? Like when you're writing a book, you're like, oh, I need to add this or add that. But at some point we have to hit publish. And so your blog can be a place to expand even further, I think, on some topics as well. And it's another stream of income. Like, I'm going to say that 10 times, I think, on this episode, because passive income is amazing. You make it once and then it makes money for you thereafter without trading your time for money. So
yes, absolutely. And if you listen to this podcast, well, I love blogging and I love multiple streams of passive income. And that is this beautiful thing. As you go through the process, you create one and then you create your next one and your next one, and you have multiple streams of passive income, and it's serving and helping your clients and your audience. And, sometimes we're frustrated, like, oh man, the resource I want isn't available. Well, you can create your own and make some money in the process. So, oh, that's awesome. So how can people sign up for your course?
Yeah, so they can visit my website, thedietitianeditor.com, and then under the shop page is the click to publish course. So you can learn more about the program there. I am, for this first go around, I'm accepting 10 spots. There's 10 spots available. I currently have 8 remaining in the program, and things are going to kick off at the end of June 2022 on June 27th. So registration will be open until Friday, June 24th, 2022. And so I would say for anyone listening to this after the first cohort has happened, you'll just be getting a bigger and better, version. Like I said, as I learn, we're going to continue to expand the program, and those that have signed up the first time around will continue to have access to that as well. So it's a program that I really think there's a need for, specifically for dietitians, nutrition and health professionals, so that we can get our message out to those who need it most and really provide that value.
Yeah, for sure. And so if you are listening to this and it is no longer June, don't worry about missing out on her course. Just reach out to Liz and ask, how do I get in this program in the future? So thank you so much for being here. Can you let people know where they can find you online so they can continue following you and learning more from you?
Yes, and I'd love to hear from you all if you have any questions about self-publishing or about the course specifically, but you can find me at the Dietitian Editor on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I'm most active on Instagram, so I would say find me there.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thanks so much for being on today, Liz. And I am so excited for your course. And I'm excited for all the dietitians who are going to be joining, and all of the, like you said, those books people are going to be holding and sharing, like, look, I did the thing. So thanks so much for being on. And I'm sure I'll have you on again in the future.
Thanks, Katie.
Hey guys, thanks so much for listening to the podcast. Now, if you're curious where you could learn more about how to start your side hustle, how to make money blogging, and all the ways that we could work together, go ahead and visit www.katiedodd.com, and that's where you can find all the links on how to dig deeper so we can continue our journey working together. Thanks so much for listening. I appreciate you.